Welcome back to the United in Stormwind Grinning Go Card Valuation Stream Podcast. VOD, this is ADWCTA.
This is Merps. We keep on going with neutrals. We talk about the okay ones.
Yeah, we're
They're
now
okay.
moving
They're
into
okay.
the baseline. So we're doing C and C pluses now, and C and C pluses. The bottom of C is like a Yeti, and so everything in C is like Yeti or better, and then C plus is like the even better, like the tip of the average cards. So yeah, so let's go. Let's go from the top down. So let's start going from the good cards, right? The C plus tier. These are a little bit better than the other cards we're talking about, but not as good as those B tier ones that we talked about before. You're okay getting these cards. You're not upset, but you're not like jumping out of your seat, and you're not even like, oh, good, I got this card. You're just like, okay, not a miss.
So we're not doing legendaries,
We're
right?
not doing
Yeah.
legendaries until the next video. That's the deep cuts, just because they don't get seen as much.
Okay, fine. All right. So the first one, pretty blah card. What we're tradable? We're talking about Impatient Shopkeep. Impatient Shopkeep is a 3-mana 3/3 with rush and tradable. Fine.
Okay,
Like,
let's.
yeah,
I think this is where you dig a little deeper into what tradable means, because the 3 mana 3/3 rush is
not great.
fine.
It's
Like,
ugh.
if you're looking at X mana XX rushes, you need it to be bigger. Like a 5 mana 5/5 rush is much better than a 3 mana 3/3 rush, because it has much more chance of hitting something you want to hit and living, because it has 5 health. This only has 3 health. And the whole point of rush over just a removal is that you need to hit something, and then this card has to live. So the Impatient Shopkeep, you can only hit things that deal 2 damage or 1 damage, or else you're doing a 3 mana deal 3 damage, which is terrible. So it is not a good card, but it's kind of a 3-drop. And later on, when you get it, you trade it. This is where tradable is actually a pretty important part of this card's like value, rather than just a bonus, because you're almost always trading this card if you have it like after turn like 3. Almost always trading this card. You may hold it in your hand for a long time and then use it as an emergency. Like, sometimes you just need to remove stuff, right? There's not as much removals anymore. There's a neutral removal, and sometimes you just use it, right? Or maybe sometimes a good opportunity comes up, right? Your opponent plays a 2/3. You're like, haha, got it. This is actually a good card in that case. But for the most part, you're just holding it as an option to being opportunistic with it, knowing that you will eventually trade it for something that will be more useful.
Yep. That's basically it. Like the 3-mana 3/3 rush these days, ugh, like that. It's really not cutting it. But the fact that you can trade it in for something else, it really does help it out, right? So this is it's a solid C plus. It's
Yeah,
fine.
yeah. Like, without the tradable, this card is so much worse. Like, the tradable is
Yep.
doing so much work here. And you'll see that with a lot of the bad cards, where you're just like, this is a crap card, but it's tradable, so it's actually like okay. All right.
Okay. Next card we got Rustrot Viper. It's a 3-mana 3/4 beast. It's tradable, and battle cry, destroy your opponent's weapon. So you just get it, just like how Ooze is a vanilla statted weapon destroyer, weapon hate card. This is a vanilla statted weapon hate card on 3, but you can also trade it. So it's good. Like one of the, I guess, issues, not really issues, but you're gonna just want to play this on 3 a decent
Yeah.
amount. Just like with Ooze, you don't want to hold it back if that's your only option. So how often does Ooze hit? It's kind of hurt, if you want to call it that, by your need to play it on curve, just like how this is quote hurt a little bit by that. But you can also trade it. Here's the thing with like Rustrot Viper, and one of the things that influences how much tradable is worth. You're not going to trade this a decent amount. Like you're going to trade a lot more cards more often than you're going to trade a Rustrot Viper, because this is just like so very playable here.
I don't know about that. I think I trade a Rustrot Viper quite frequently. Anytime you get this card after 3, you're probably trading it, unless
Well,
you can
you're also
actually destroy
keeping
the
this a
weapon.
decent amount. You're also keeping this like
Yeah. Like if
potentially
you
in the
have it,
mulligan,
if you
doing
have it
all
in the
that stuff.
mulligan. But
Yeah,
the
yeah.
other times, you're trading it quite frequently if your opponent doesn't have a weapon. What makes this different than the previous card, which has the rush, is that the impatient shopkeep gives you an option in your hand, and you have that option for when you need it. Whether they play a 2/3 or you just really need to deal 3 damage to something, you have it until you trade it. That's a bonus. Rustrot Viper is not an option if your opponent does not play a weapon class. Although these days every class is a weapon class because they're going to add weapons to like every single class, but just like one, right? So you have like a small option, right? It's like if you're facing a mage, it's not really an option, right? If you're facing a warlock, maybe you have like a tiny bit, like maybe they'll take that card, that weapon. We'll talk about later, but they probably won't. And so, yeah, you're holding a 3 mana 3/4, but it's not giving you a really good option the way a 3 mana 3/3 rush is giving you a decent option for the impatient shopkeep. So this Rustrot Viper, it's not that you won't trade it eventually, it's that before you trade it, it's a lot less valuable. Like it's good as a 3-drop, but the extra value comes in like either just playing. It comes in when it's actually with a weapons class.
Yep. Okay. Cool. So that's Rustrot Viper. Next we have Royal Librarian. Royal Librarian is 4 mana, 3/4 tradable. Battlecry, silence a minion. So we basically have Spellbreaker returning, flipping its stats, and it's also tradable once again. Um, this just goes to exactly what I was talking about in terms of tradable. How valuable is tradable? Well, it's really valuable on something like a Royal Librarian, in which silence can mean nothing at all, or it could mean winning the game. So this is one of those things where you hold it, and you just gotta evaluate turn by turn, right? It's like, oh, maybe I'll need because what you don't want to do with tradable is like, I don't need it this turn, I trade.
Yeah.
That's never the way to think about it. It's like, okay, what's my position in the game? What can screw me over? How much do I need science? Like, even if you have like, you're like, well, I don't think I'll need it for a little bit, but like, it's nice to have it in hand because you are paying a mana to trade, right? It's not just like, oh, I just get to trade this in for free and whatever. But this is just one of those cards that the tradable and the flexibility of it helps us so much because it is severely understated, but the silence can win you a game, so it's good. And for that reason, we put it at a C plus.
Yeah, see, I almost think the opposite is I think the silence is so good that the tradable is going to be used only in a top deck situation. Like, only at the end of the game when you're top decking will you trade this. Because until then, you always want this option. And if you somehow can't get it off in a meaningful fashion, it's going to be a rare game that happens. Like, let's say you start the game with this card.
I agree with that. I don't want to just. I want to keep it more open, right? Because it is going to be one of those situations in game where like I want people to figure it out. Like figure it out, think about it, because tradable is so deep. It is so deep. And if you just think it's like, okay, I can't use it right now, I'm going to do it. No, like, okay, could you use that 1 mana more efficiently? One of the questions you ask. What are the chances that I need this?
Yeah, later on.
By trading it, what are my chances of getting something better? And then if I do need it, what are my chances of getting better? Like you just got to ask a lot of these questions. So I agree with you. This is something in which you want to keep more often, and then you just hit the tradable as a panic button, right? More often than some other tradable cards. But this is kind of what you want. Like you want your BGHs to be tradable, right? You want those cards to be like more tradable. But at the same time, it's like, oh man, like the payoff for those is like huge. So this is good. Like Royal Librarian, silence is going to be very helpful, especially like we're missing some initiative, and silence is an initiative in many ways. So I'm very happy with this. C plus, pretty solid.
Yep. So if you're wondering why it's not bigger, there's no neutral. I mean, there's not no. There's very few neutral big things that you want to silence nowadays. Like
It's
take,
like the acolyte.
yeah, that's it.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
there's other things in which it's decent to silence it. You play it, right? You silence it, you're happy with it, but you're not getting like a ton of value for it. Like Proto Drake is gone, Worm is gone, Scrapyard is gone, and like all the things that you normally be like, oh yeah, silence target, are now no longer in the game. So now
yeah.
you're left with mostly things that you're like, ah, I'm gonna get like the equivalent value of like dealing 1 to 2 damage,
Yeah.
like to
You,
something,
you're
which is
winning,
good,
yeah.
but it's not like it's you're turning this into a Fire Plume Phoenix, you know? Like, and Fire Plume Phoenixes are not like the most amazing things these days. They're like okay.
Yeah. Your home runs are going to be some of the big buffs that we see classes get. But
Yeah.
then of course those will have already gotten value.
Up from
So
their
in the
health,
end,
yeah.
what is your
Like,
gain
yeah,
there?
you're like mounts, right? That's what you're kind of going
Yeah.
for. Okay.
All right. Next we have Stubborn Suspect. Stubborn Suspect is a 4 mana 3/3 Death Rattle. Summon a random 3-cost minion. This is a C plus. So remember, C plus is like around where in our old tier list it would be around like a 130, 140. They
Mm-hmm.
go around to 140, right? So
Mm-hmm.
good. Like
It's good.
remember, there were a lot of quite good cards there.
It's a good
Um,
tempo card. We've seen this
yeah,
before. This is Disguised Wanderer, except instead of getting a 9/1, you get a random 3-cost minion, which honestly is usually better than a 9/1.
yeah, it is. So look, it's fine. It's good. Just don't look at C plus and be like, oh, C plus, ew. No, C plus. Like remember, 140, 140. Like that's quite good there.
Mm-hmm. Next,
Okay.
we have Lion's Guard. Lion's Guard is a 5 mana 4/6 common card. Battle Cry, if you have 15 or less health, gain +2/+4 and taunt. So you got this mechanic that used to be a Warlock mechanic making a comeback. 15 or less health. Remember, we're in the meta now where 15 or less health is dangerous. Very, very dangerous because you have Battleground Battlemaster in this game now. So when you are in danger, you can get this 5 mana 4/6 is terrible these days. But you can get this to be a 6/10 for 5 mana, which is probably later on in the game. So matters less than it's 5 mana. You just like kind of like get a couple of extra mana and make this card a big card. Get a big taunt, which is all really nice. But the trigger is something that you're not going to get to that often before you die.
Yeah, it's funny. Now 15 health for neutrals is a breakpoint. We played for years in the Draconid Enforcer.
Yeah.
Not meta, because it never, but like, you thought about it, right? It's like,
Mhm.
oh, Draconid. Let's think about Draconid. It's like, and with that, it was, it didn't taunt, it just ended games, right?
Mhm.
Because instead of a 6/6, it became a 9/9, and that was huge. And now you have this. This is much more annoying because if you're at 15 or less health, it's like this is exactly what you want.
Mhm.
And the only thing that really holds it back is the fact that a 5 mana 4/6 is real bad.
Yeah.
It's really, really, really bad. You can't just
Like you play it on 5 if
give
you
up
need
stats
to,
these
right?
days.
But any 5
Yeah,
drop is better than this.
it really is. So that's the thing that's holding it back. And like, are you not like if this is one of your only options, are you really not going to play it?
No, you're gonna play it.
No, I think you should play it.
And
But that
that's
sucks.
yeah.
That
That's really the
sucks.
problem
Yeah.
with this card because you can't just like wait until you have 15 or less health. You very easily will die in one turn between
You could
15
just
and
die.
0. Very easily. Like half the time, you're not going to ever exist at 15 or less health. You will just be at more than 15 health, and then you will be dead the next turn.
Yep. So Lion's Guard, it makes its way to a C plus, and that's quite good for being so understated.
Mm-hmm.
It just goes to show that when you
When you
hit
yeah,
the condition, it's so good.
mm-hmm.
Oh my god, 5 mana,
10
6/10
taunt.
taunt. Oh man.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, so those are the pluses, and those are the C pluses. We're now going to go to the Cs. These are like Yeti and stuff that's like a little bit better than a Yeti. And the first one is still my favorite card of the set. It's Peasant. Such a such a normal, non-assuming name. It is a
It's so
peasant.
normal.
1 mana, 2/1. Peasants stronger than Stormwind's recruits. Confirmed. They should really go and recruit peasants instead of whatever the hell they're getting their recruits from.
This is like you know in those movies where like the old war general just retires and becomes like a peasant in the farm and he's called back into action or something like that's it. That's why he has
Mhm.
double the attack of like a Stormwind um, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then at the start of your turn, draw a card. If you play it on turn 1, you're going to draw a card, like probably more often than not, which is nice. If you play it afterwards, probably not. But who knows? There's a lot of taunts in United and Stormwind, and a lot less initiative. So I don't know the meta exactly, and no one can know the meta exactly because Blizzard messes with the offering odds. But it would not surprise me if this card, even later on in the game, has like a 50% chance ish of being able to survive a turn, even at 1 health. All the pings are gone, so if you don't have a natural ping, and only Mage has a natural ping that goes through taunts, you're kind of in a bind here. Like this card could, and remember, drawing cards is useful now. Just like having more cards is useful now because the Skullomance is gone. You are no longer in an endless card advantage meta. You actually do want more cards. So the upside is quite large. Of course, it's not higher than this because like half the time it's just a Murloc Raider, and Murloc Raiders are terrible.
Yeah, so look, this is a C tier. The very bottom of C is a Yeti. So this is like, how good is it for you? For me, it's like, a little bit better than a Yeti.
Yeah, I'll take this over a Yeti.
Yeah, I will definitely take this over a Yeti. The problem is it's a 2/1.
Yeah.
If we were talking about just a 1 mana 2/1, that's what, like F plus?
Yeah, I was about to say, I don't think
F
it's
plus?
a D. I think it
I think
could
it's a
be a
F
D.
plus, right? I don't
It's
know.
bottom of D or very top of F plus.
I think it's a F plus. So that is how much. If you guys are curious, once again, and
No,
we're
it's not
trying
an
to.
F plus. A 1/2 is an F plus. So I think a 2/1 will
Yeah.
be a D. I think a 2/1
Okay.
will legit be a D.
Yeah, I know, but that was a 1/2 that could grow.
Oh, if you get
Remember?
Murlocs.
Yeah.
No.
It could grow to a 2/2, which is a world of difference.
Okay. But a
Still
Murloc
my
Raider
F
is
plus,
better
whatever.
than a Tide, whatever Tide thing that thing was.
Yeah. So that's how many points it's getting. I'm gonna tell you this right now. You're gonna look at this rating of a C, and you're gonna be angry. Because if you play Arena enough, you will single-handedly lose to this in at least a game. I'm
More
sorry,
than a game. Way more than a game.
Yeah, you just will. Now the problem is it's like the average effect, right? It's the average effect. And that's kind of it. It's like look at any of those potential kind of snowball cards that aren't exactly good but can just blow you out of a game. This is it. And this is going to be more annoying because it's a 1-drop, right? It's going to be a 1-drop, and if they draw like 3 cards and it ends up being a close game that they win, you can definitely point to this and say it's because of a stupid peasant.
Like, remember how good Gibberling is? I just want to bring you back. Nowadays, Gibberling's not good. You would not take it the way you would take it back then. But this is like Gibberling, but it's a 2/1 instead of a 1/1, which is a world of difference.
Yep.
Like, if it survives, it's going to attack just like a Gibberling, and you're going to get a card, and the card is probably approximately what a Gibberling was worth back then.
Yeah.
So this is the equivalent of a back then Gibberling, which was quite decent. Now, it's not necessarily appearing in a class in which you could do a lot of things with it with aggression. You don't know exactly what you're getting, whereas you do with a Gibberling. A lot of things, right? But it's like old school Gibberling, and we had a lot of fun with Gibberling, and Gibberling was legit a good card.
It was legit, and that was in a world with Og Merchants and Penflinger and everything, right?
Well,
Like,
no, it wasn't. I'm talking about when Gibberling first came out.
Oh, you're talking
not the
about
last. The current Gibberling is not good. Current Gibberling.
Well, not the 2/2, but we had a period where we had the 1-mana Gibberling along with all of the other stuff and with Druid.
Yeah, and it was still not good.
Remember?
Yeah, but it was still not good.
I mean, it was
It was way worse than a Yeti.
It was fine.
I'd so much rather have a
Gibbering.
Yeti.
Well, it depended on the meta. I took Gibbering over a Yeti, but that was because like that was when this is when Lotus was in. Lotus plus all of this stuff. So between a Yeti or the Gibberling, oh my god, it's the Gibberling every single time.
Oh no, I take the Yeti.
Oh yeah, definitely.
But this is like that with less guarantee of what you're getting, but the same kind of value card. Okay. It's a Peasant. I was hoping this came out to be higher. It didn't, but for good reason, I think.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting this to be higher. Solid C. That's cool. Next, we have this card. Goddamn.
I love this card. Oh,
I don't understand.
No love for these 1 mana cards that are replacing the Aug Merchants.
What? How is this 1 mana?
Oh, are you not looking at the same card that I'm looking at?
I'm looking at Stockade's
card.
Oh, wait.
1 mana.
Okay. Oh no, this is fine.
Okay, I'm like, this is a weird card to really hate on Merps.
No, it was the Stockade's Prison I was looking at.
Stockade's Guard, 1 mana, 1/3. Battle Cry. Give a friendly minion taunt.
Good. Fine. Good.
Not much to say about it.
It's like a strong C. It doesn't make it to a C+ for me, but it's a strong C. Like, it's good. Yeah. There you go. All right. That's all I gotta say about it, honestly. Next, we have a card that makes an appearance here, but it's not the same throughout. We're talking about Florist. This is a 2 mana 2/3. At the end of your turn, reduce the cost of a nature spell in your hand by 1. We have it here at a C for Shaman and Druid.
Stuff with nature spells.
Yeah, because nature spells. And then for everything else, it's a D+.
D+ being where like crocs are, because it's basically a croc.
Because it is a croc.
Yeah. Yes. Not much to say here. Don't think you're gonna get like ridiculous value out of it. You're getting 1 mana, and you're not getting it immediately. You're getting whenever you play this like nature spell. So
you have to play, so you have to play this. The nature spell has to be in your hand, blah blah. But you know what? It's a thing. It's a thing. So this is where Florist is. It's a C for those 2 classes, Shamans and Druids. Okay. Next, we got Mailbox Dancer.
All right. 2 mana, 3/2. Battle Cry. Add a coin to your hand. Death Rattle. Give your opponent 1. So this is better than a Raptor because you get the coin before your opponent. Also, unless you're playing it as your only 2-drop, you can choose to play it whenever you want, when you need the coin, or if a coin will be helpful. Whereas if a coin would like devastate you, you could just not play the card. So it is better enough than a River Croc, I think, to justify it as a C rather than a D+, but it's like the lowest C.
Yeah, it's fine. That's it. Choice is always good. Like, choice is a good thing. And sometimes you can think about it and you don't have a choice, right? Like, that's fine too. Like, if you don't have a choice, you don't have a choice, but you can think about it, and when you do have a choice, you can choose. There you go. Okay. Next, we have
SI7 Skulker. 2 mana 2/2 stealth. Battle Cry. The next card you draw costs 1 less. So, whereas the previous one was a very low C, this was probably a high C without getting to C+. 2 mana 2/2 stealth is kind of a serviceable card. It's really like a little bit below like the cut. Like, I'd rather have like a 2/3 or a 3/2 than a 2/2 stealth, but it's very close. And to make up for that, you get one less. You get 1 mana less at some point in the future. Like, maybe even the next turn. Maybe even like this turn. Oh, sorry, no. Yeah, it could be this turn, but probably the next turn. And that more than makes up for it.
Yeah, it's just the body itself is very unspectacular. So
it's not a 3/1 stealth. It's a 2/2 stealth.
Yep. Okay. Next, here. Let's see. Here we go. We have the Entrapped Sorceress. Entrapped Sorceress is a 3 mana 3/4 Battle Cry. If you control a quest, discover a spell, it is a 3 mana 3/4. This is where it's at. 3
mana 3/4s are very bottom of C, along with
very
Yetis.
Bottom of C. Yeah. So this is very bottom of C.
This may also not be in the game for the arena if they continue their thing of not doing anything that mentions quests into the game. But just in case, we're covering it.
we're just giving it a score, but we don't need to talk about it at all. Next, we have Guild Trader. Once again, just like with Florist, Guild Trader is making its appearance here. For a few classes, Guild Trader is a 4 mana 3/4 tradable spell damage +2. So we saw like a 2/2 version of this in earlier expansions with spell damage +2, and now you get more stats, and you also get a tradable as well.
Super important tradable.
Super important tradable. Very important tradable. So we put it here for C, for mage, warlocks, priests, and shamans, and for the others, you're going to see it in the D+.
Remember, D plus is pretty much where it would be if it was just a 1 mana card that says tradable. Like it did nothing but says tradable. 1 mana draw a card is around a D plus, like a low D plus.
Part of the problem with Guild Trader is the fact that how often is the +2 spell damage going to matter? Like, are you using both of them? How often are you able to play the thing you want to play plus this on the same turn? Because if you play it before and hope that it will survive, 4 mana 3/4, I don't know how much it's going to survive. You know, do you have the spell? Like, there's a lot of like ifs, right? So when you hit on this, it's going to hit pretty big potentially. You could hit real big on this. But yeah, it's just a C, which isn't terrible, right? Like, remember, Yeti is at the bottom of C. I think this is like a C period. You know,
yeah, for the classes that have especially board cleary, the things that stack with spell damage. But again, it's like when you have a tradable card, the value you get is in what besides the floor, which is really important for this card because you're going to trade it away more often than not. But you also get the option until you get it, and the option here is that it will combo with something that you draw later or that you have now when the situation comes together. It may or may not come together, but you can always trade it on later when you actually need a real card rather than this card, which puts the floor at like D+. And the benefit of having this option until you trade it puts it into the C category.
Yep. Okay, so that's where we're at with the Guild Trader, and finally we have.
No, that's it. That'll do it.
No.
Is that it?
No, we still have one more.
These are legendaries.
No, there is
really?
Moarg Forge Fiend.
Oh, he's not a legendary.
He is, dude. That would be the lamest. People would complain.
Sorry, I was just looking at the name. But I forgot Morarg is just a tribe, and Forge Fiend is not his last name.
So,
his title, like his
this
job.
is a 8 mana. I don't. Yeah, sure, job. 8 mana, 8/8 demon. It has a demon tag, by the way. With taunt and death rattle, gain 8 armor. It's a C. Like, you know, it's fine. 8 mana, 8/8 taunt.
Ironbark cries in a corner.
Yeah, well, I mean, those cards have been invalid for quite some time now. If you need a giant taunt, if you're dying, this is about as good as you're going to get, right? Like, a giant taunt that also gives you a ton of armor, it's not bad. It's just the problem is, like, man, you are expecting a lot from big drops these days. This is just okay, you know?
And this does nothing if you're not dying. It's just an 8 mana 8/8 that taunts if you're not dying, and that is pretty bad these days.
Yeah, so this is fine. Like, it's the fact that it's a big drop and it doesn't suck is good enough. Like in 2021, this is super underwhelming for an 8 drop. Like, right, you expect to see something more. So it's going to be useful. Some games you will take it sometimes, but you got to do better if you're an 8 drop. That's it.
So these are the okay cards. I don't think there's that many like trap cards in here. I don't think anyone's looking at these cards and being like, these are amazing or like these are terrible. This is a pretty straightforward set. The more interesting ones we really covered in the last video. This is the straightforward like meat and potatoes part of the neutrals that they're adding.
Okay.
All right. So do you have any shout outs to give before we move on to the deep cuts?
Sure. Let's shout out the Patreons again. Thank you for giving us monies. So thank you to RV Night Train, Yin, 15 gold cringe, Eric L, Aaron LS, Dan F, Karova, REG, 4P, and brand new. Thank you guys for your support. Hope you guys enjoy this. We will see you on the next section.
See you guys.
Bye.